Okay. All right. So welcome everybody to our Zensational Mandala session. I got really a lot of requests to do this. So it's one of my favorite things. It's what I do, and you'll see when I do the PowerPoint. I wanted to show everybody my email in case you don't have it. You could copy it down. Make sure you get that second N in there. A lot of people forget that one. It's mndnspirit@aol.com. So if you're not already on our mailing list, you can just email me and I will add you on. Also wanted to mention with mandalas and Zentangles or patterns are kind of great partners because mandalas are full of partners and patterns in them. And in the folder that I created for today's session on our Google Drive, I put a few references, pages of patterns that I have used just for ideas and reference material. Also, I know we've mentioned this before, on the website, tanglepatterns.com, she sells a book that she's made, Linda Farmer. She compiled 1,000,001 Tangle patterns into a book. And she doesn't charge for her website, but she charges for the book. And it's a really good investment because I take this and I make copies sometimes and I use it in school. And it's an invaluable resource to have 1,000,001 patterns all in one place because everybody comes up with their own and it's a great idea. And she does a lot of work to gather all of this. So tanglepatterns.com. And okay, so we're gonna start and I'm going to do a PowerPoint first. So I'm going to share my screen. Does anybody have any questions before we start? Okie dokie. Here we go. Just let me make sure you can see my PowerPoint. You guys can all see that?
Yep. Yep.
Great. Okay. So this is mandalas. What are they? Abbey. And the one in the background is one I just recently thing about why isn't this moving forward? So I'm not going to read all of this to you, but when I did this with my kids in class, I thought it would be really cool to show them that mandalas are worldwide. They are not owned by any particular ethnicity or culture. They are appropriated and used in different ways. This is an example of a sand mandala being created by Buddhist monks. And I go over the fact that it's a ritual and it's meaningful and it's used. The sand that they use is part of the ritual, and the fact that once it's over, there's a ritual of taking it apart as well and kind of blowing it all away, which reminds us that while we are part of this whole entire universe, nothing is forever. So it kind of reminds us to not take things for granted, enjoy what we have in the moment. Because especially now with COVID and everything, you never know how long you're going to have what you have. So I go over all the history of it and some of the process and the rituals and the purpose of it. And then we discuss that mandalas are everywhere in nature, from the sea to the forest to the fruits and vegetables that we eat. That the mandala is basically a symbol for the universe, and it's a circle because the design originates at a central point and either spirals or works its way out. This mandala on this screen is the very first one I ever did. I think it was about 12 or 13, maybe 15 years ago. I don't know. I'm sure many of you as artists, when you're in your zone, you really time and space kind of disappear, and you look up from what you're doing, and it could be hours and hours later. So that is my favorite place to be. It's incredibly therapeutic. Mandalas are soothing and relaxing because they have a rhythm to them. It's a lot of repetitive drawing, and that in itself is very soothing and relaxing. So next slide. These are the next two that I did after the previous one. As you can see, the Zentangles in the first one on the left totally inspired that black and white one. And then I think it was Winter Vacation when I did the other one. So your inspiration can come from anything and anywhere. So I remind the kids that it doesn't have to, you can play with themes if you enjoy the process. Pick a theme and go with it. One of them is the zodiac. Another, I had been researching Aztec design, so that obviously inspired the center one. And then the one on the right, I had just watched Disney's Moana, which is the Polynesian animated film. And that totally inspired the design and theme of that one, which you can see is still in progress. I haven't gotten back to that one yet. Okay, why aren't I moving forward? Here we go. And also, I like the kids to play with their color schemes. It could be obviously black and white or any other color scheme you choose. The one on the left was inspired by Mola designs, which I absolutely love. The one in the center is just water and beach. And then the one on the right is spring, so it has all those spring colors. These are two more that I did. The one on the right was inspired. I had finally visited the Islamic wing at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and I was completely blown away by their artwork. It's all geometric, and the illuminated manuscripts that they have. So there was a lot of golds, and the entryway, they have an entryway, a tile entryway in the museum that really, really inspired the colors on the one on the right. And the one on the left was from a visit I took to Sedona, Arizona. And I think you could tell that the landscape seriously inspired that one, plus a lot of emotional stuff that was going on in my life. So inspiration for these is completely personal. There is no right or wrong. It's whatever you're feeling, and you just put it out on the paper. These are the two most recent ones. I finished the one on the left about 2 weeks ago, and the one before that was last month. So, as I said, inspiration comes from anywhere, and you can use any theme of pattern that you like, and the first few that you do, just play and have a great time doing it. So the materials you're going to need are your square surface, whatever that is going to be, mechanical pencil, eraser, compass, ruler, protractor, an inking pen. My favorites are the microns, and tracing paper is optional if you need it. And then I don't know if we'll get to it today, but whatever coloring medium you choose. You guys can look at all of this later on. I don't have to read this to you because that's what we're going to be doing, and I don't want to take up time with this. But there are two methods which I'll review. One, you can use tracing paper, and one you can just totally freehand. Whatever you're comfortable with is completely up to you. And helpful tips. Mechanical pencil works best for precision drawing. I like that best. I know number 2 pencils are great, but they're not precise. And when you wear the point down, it tends to widen your lines and it's not as neat and clean as your original. Also draw lightly because you can always erase it. If you draw too dark, you'll never get that mark out of your paper. Also draw as many guidelines as you need, whether it's a radius across your circle to make your wedges smaller, or extra rings with the compass so that you have any number of circles, concentric circles, whatever it is that you need. Then I tend to erase all my pencil after I've inked my outlines so that everything is super clean. And you should do a few color studies on the same material as your mandala before you commit it to the final. There are times when I've just gone in with color and been sorry after the fact. So you could take tracing paper and go over your designs and just sketch in your color choices, or you can make a photocopy and like a coloring book, color it in different versions until you come up with a color scheme that you like. So that's the slideshow. And again, I will put this in our Google Drive. Also, those of you, if you don't have my email or I don't have your email, you're gonna have to send it to me so you can have access to the Google Drive. And I will add that PowerPoint to the Google Drive tomorrow. All right, so now I'm going to share my screen again and we can get started. So here's my square surface. It's an illustration board. I like working on board because it's nice and thick and sturdy. And I just like the feel of thicker paper. Okay, so the first thing, I'm sure most of you know this, is you find the center of your board. So you're gonna take a ruler and go corner to corner. Now you can draw a line all the way across the board because that'll give you already a couple of diameter lines, which is fine, which we're gonna need to add later on anyway. If I go too fast, slow me down and let me know, okay? All right, so here's the center. Can you guys see the center? Is it too bright? Or am I drawing too light?
It's a little light, but
A little light. If I close this, then you can't see anything. I just don't want to draw too dark, but you guys can see the center.
yeah, we know what you're doing.
Okay. So then I'm going to take my compass and I'm going to put the needle at the center spot and open it up as big or as small as you want. And then draw your outer ring. Can you see that? You could draw it any darker. All right. Then we're going to take our handy dandy protractor and you're going to put your center line on one line and your 0, I don't know if you can see this, but my center is dead center. And make sure when you go up, the 90 degrees is also straight up. And then your 0 is on the x-axis. So your protractor should completely line up with the intersecting lines. And then you decide how many slices do you want your mandala to have? How many slices of pie? I've done 12, which means then you have to go every 30 degrees, or if you want to do 8, you go every 45 degrees. You got to do some math in there. I'm sorry. I know summer brain and math isn't always a good partnership, but I'm going to do 30 degrees. So I'm going to do 12 sections. So what you're going to, whatever number you decide on, you're going to put a mark at every measurement. So I'm doing 30, so I'm going to go at 0, 30, 60, 90, 120, and 150. And if you'll notice, I'm continuing a short line straight out radiating from the protractor. A lot of kids at school, they go sideways along the protractor, and it doesn't make sense because then you don't have an exact placement for your mark. So make sure that you just follow the line of the degree measurement and continue it out just a little bit. So you can see I have some marks. I'm pulling it up toward the camera so you can see that. And then what I'm going to do, I only did it on half of the circle because I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to put my pencil at the center point and then rotate the ruler until I hit one mark. And then I'm going to draw a line from the outer ring through the mark, through the center to the other side of the circle, and that gives me my spokes all the way through. You guys all with me?
Yes.
Okay, so do that for all of your measurements until you have all of your slices of your pie drawn in. And then we'll continue. What are we all doing? Very quiet. Are we all ready to move on?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So this is the stage where this is your basic startup and setup. Now, when I do this with my students at school, I use the tracing method because it kind of is less intimidating than telling them, okay, now go fill up your circle. So what I have them do is take the ruler again and trace out a single wedge on the tracing paper. gotta be exact, because then this is going to be used as a template to transfer all the way around the circle. Okay. So I also try to simplify it in some ways when I do this with my students in school. I tell them to use the sides of the wedge as a line of symmetry, so that if they create some kind of really cool shape, you know, along that edge, when we reflect it and repeat it and transfer it around, when you turn the paper over and transfer it, it creates a secondary design that is symmetrical. So when you flip it, or you do something on either edge, it creates that kind of design. And you can also go in, do something on both sides, or take the compass and add more rings. Do something along the rings. I know most mandalas that you find online have mostly concentric rings with designs all around the rings, kind of like the Target logo with designs inside of each stripe. I kind of don't love doing that. I try to break up the space a little more with bigger shapes. So if you use your compass, you can go in here, you know, and draw in your design. Can you see what I'm doing? Yeah, there we go. So anything goes here. And then once you finish and complete your design on the wedge, and I'm just gonna wing something else here. So let's say this is my finished design, then I would take this and rotate it, or flip it rather, reflect it and flip it and transfer it all the way around. So if I lay this down on my next wedge and trace directly over my line on the back of the tracing paper, it transfers the pencil to your work surface. Okay? If you don't want to do this method, then you could go in and draw directly on your board, create your circles, concentric circles, space them apart any distance that you like. I usually work from the inside out, and also try to have a slip sheet between your arm and the rest of the surface, so that you don't smudge what you're doing as you're going. So as I said, use your guidelines to help you. It helps maintain kind of a systematic sameness for all of your shapes. And if you need more so that you can fill up the space better, just add more, just do more dividing with the protractor. And that's pretty much it. You want to do the same thing in every single wedge, so that once you come around, it looks like the circles. And symmetry is important. Obviously, repetition and consistency in the size and the patterns. And other than that, it's very easy. I mean, I know when you look at it, it looks really hard and intricate, but the mechanics of it are very, very simple. Does anybody have a question for me?
Not yet.
Okay, so I guess,
Steph, I have a question.
yes, ma'am.
One of your drawing that you did on your tracing paper, the edge went up to the line your design wasn't, what do I want to say? Yeah, it kind of, I want to say it didn't finish. Is that so when you flip it, it looks connected all the way around?
Yes, so I only did half of a shape on each edge, on each symmetry line. So that
Okay,
turn it like a page in a book to transfer, each shape will complete itself and become a new shape itself when it's finished.
okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Which method do you prefer? Do you do freehand or do you trace?
When I first started doing this, I did the tracing method, and now I kind of do freehand, and I give myself a million guidelines to follow, which can be erased later. But if I have a specific shape that's more complex and a little bigger, then I will take tracing and just transfer that shape with the tracing paper. So you could do a combination just to maintain continuity, and then go back to the freehand. It depends on my mood and where, you know, you get started with these and the design kind of takes over and it sort of tells you where it wants to go. They speak to you and you just follow. Sometimes you want small, easy shapes, and that's the place you're in your head. And other times you want these grand, complex designs, and you can incorporate both and fill up the space. So it just depends what your mood is. That's why this is so cool, because it's a real reflection of where your insides are at the moment, you know? And like I said, there's no right or wrong. You could take this in any direction that you want. The only thing I tell the kids is that don't make like polka dots so that it looks like a pepperoni pizza slice, because then nothing happens when you transfer it. It just looks like polka dots inside of a circle. You got to give it a little bit of a personality, have it go somewhere, and add a variety of shapes and patterns, and have them kind of interact with each other so that you're not just putting circles inside of a circle.
Now, when you say shapes,
Yes.
do you mean geometric shapes or organic shapes, and they would be closed shape rather than just lines?
I mean, all of that.
Okay.
They can do, well, you can't color in an open line.
Right.
So everything should be a closed shape or connected to something.
Okay.
But it can be organic, it could be geometric, it could be something they make up. I try to guide them away from the whole Lucky Charms idea, where it's just, you know, stars, hearts, diamonds, and squares and triangles. I want them to be a little more creative than that. So this is, of course, I've done this as a culminating project for the elements and principles of art, so that we've already discussed different kinds of shapes and different kinds of lines, and they can vary the line weights once they're inking. But if everybody only used geometric shapes, then everybody's work would look very similar. So I try to push them out of their comfort zone. And I know I've said this before, but just take your pencil for a walk. It doesn't have to be in a perfect square or a perfect triangle. Try to use a little bit of imagination. I'm going to subdivide each of my wedges now so that I have a center point between each one. So I have to go to 15 degrees. This also helps make sure that everything is a consistent size, because let's say if you're doing a scallop pattern or a zigzag, you want them all to be about the same size. You don't want different widths of your zig and your zag, because then it won't be consistent. Finding cat hair all over my board. I also like to look at pattern books from different cultures, because that tends to inspire the flavor of the mandala as well. So I collect a lot of books on patterning from all over the world.
Did you say you do this all in pencil and then you ink it in
Yes.
and then you add color?
Yes.
What color, what type of color do you use? Do you paint or marker or?
I have done colored pencil.
Okay.
I have done watercolor. My favorite medium at the moment is acrylic ink, believe it or not. So I paint with the acrylic inks. I think there's a brand called FW.
Oh,
I think I bought every color. They look like they come in a little jar that looks like an ink jar, but they're different colors, and I'm in love with them because the richness of, I love vibrant color.
yeah.
So those are really nice to work with.
And you use micron pens, but aren't those water soluble?
No, microns are permanent.
Or are they? Okay. I thought they
Yeah.
were. Okay.
It's waterproof and fade proof.
Okay.
And they also have different line weights as well. I haven't done one on a black surface yet, but I'm leaning towards starting that one soon because I'm really curious how that would come out. So that I would work with white as my outliner instead of
Right.
Melly pen.
Right.
I'm really interested to see how that would work. It would make it difficult to use the tracing paper because it's hard to see your design on the black surface.
You'll have to use that white paper for sewing, that white transfer paper.
Right. Or just freehand it.
Oh, that's crazy.
I know when I first started freehanding, it was scary, but it's, you know, the more guidelines you add, it's not that bad. I would also suggest making some kind of a separating ring between rows of big patterns so that they're not all sitting directly on top of each other, but there's like a breather between each one.
What age do you do this with, Steph?
High school.
Okay.
go to the Crayola website, they have a blank mandala template that you can download, and the kids, you can print, or the kids can print, and they can make their own without having to draw the whole diagram themselves. But then the lines stay there, but it's already drawn for you. And I found that, I think I found that last week online.
Where was that?
The Crayola website.
Oh, okay.
They have 1,000,001 downloadable templates, and that was one of them. Really, really helpful.
Okay.
If there's also a lady who, True North Arts, she does a lot of mandala work, and she wrote the 100 Mandala Project book.
Oh, wow.
She has templates in her books as well, and on her website. So I want to say it's truenortharts.com. Her name's Catherine Costa. I can put the information in the chat.
Sure, thank you. True North. I'm gonna write this down.
So has anyone else gotten information about whether their schools are opening? Because we had our board meeting this week and it was long. And we're virtual. We're virtual for now.
Where are you?
We're in Michigan.
Oh, wow, okay. See, this, I don't understand why New York is watching everybody else open and then close. So
Yeah.
why not just be smart and wait till spring? Doesn't make sense to me.
I'm in Sparta, North Carolina, and we're doing virtual and face-to-face. They get to choose. And we're starting Monday.
Oh my,
Wow.
are you?
Wow. Hey, I'm in Sparta, Ohio.
Oh, cool. I bet
Yeah.
you didn't have our earthquake though.
No earthquake.
We had a
Terrible.
5.1 Sunday.
Everybody,
Wow.
How bad was it?
It was a 5.1, and we've had about 20 aftershocks since.
was everybody okay? Was there a lot of loss?
There was nobody, well, there was just a few people cut, like on glass and stuff, but the damage is unreal. There's a lot of people who have lost their home due to structural damage.
Wow.
And our school even suffered some damage, but we're still going.
You shouldn't go. Your school's broken.
Well, that's what we thought, but they say that 70% of our parents want their kids to go back to school, so.
Yeah. Well, we were scheduled to go back 5 days a week with the option of virtual. And then somebody in football contracted COVID. And now we're on a hybrid schedule. So 2 days in person, 3 days virtual.
Have you've started already?
We don't start until after Labor Day.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess we'll have to see how it goes.
This is my second week of teaching.
Oh, how's it going?
Be quiet. Be quiet. Sorry, a kid here. It's going. I mean, it's different. I teach middle school. Our K-6, I teach at a charter school, elementary, middle, and higher, 3 different campuses. Our 7th through 12th graders are fully virtual. Our K-6 are all back doing a hybrid schedule. It was rough. So if you guys go back, the first few days you may cry a lot just because it's so different.
Yeah.
I mean, looking at the kids looking back at you with masks on, it's pretty rough. But I feel like we kind of hit our stride this week. There were less people crying this week.
Wow.
But it's a lot of work to do both. Everybody's in a different place, so.
Yeah, how are you doing both? How are you doing that?
Well, I mean, I can only speak from what I'm personally doing, but so I teach 5th and 6th graders face-to-face, AA Monday, Tuesday, BB Wednesday, Thursday, and then we have tutoring on Fridays by appointment. And I've divided everything up into 2-week chunks. So I pick a theme for the whole 2 weeks to study. They have to have daily check-in assignments, but the whole time they're working on one piece throughout those 2 weeks that's due at the end. And all the daily assignments kind of refer, back to that. But, and then my kids that come face to face also are virtual on the days they're not at school. I teach everybody like they're virtual. I pull up stuff that's online in my classroom, and I just make the kids that are there think about it being like an extra tutoring session with my supplies, I guess.
How do you do that without a lot of feedback from the kids that are in the class with you? That's what I'm struggling with, is how do I do, we're set up that we're going to have 3 groups. We're going to have the kids that are there 5 days a week. And then the kids that chose hybrid are going to be split into 2 and be there every other day. So it's a big mess, and I'm trying to figure out how do you do. So I'll see some kids every day and some kids every other day, but no kids ever at the same time, or no times where they're all online.
The best thing I can tell you is somebody gave me the best advice, because I couldn't wrap my head around it. You had to have 3 brains for what they were asking and requiring us to do. And somebody just said, teach them all like they're virtual. Because our kids, they checked out Chromebooks and they're bringing them to school every day. I know everybody doesn't have that option. So they can actually pull up the stuff online and do it in class. And I'm just teaching them like they're virtual. I don't know what else to.
That's exactly what I intend to do.
Yeah. And that's what I want to do. I'm just not sure how to do it. If my kids in the classroom all have their mics on, how do you not get a feedback loop? Or do you pre-record? Do you know when you're in a room and there are a bunch of microphones working at once and it gets that high-pitched screech?
You can ask them to mute it, and since they're in the room with you, if they do not, you can go over there and mute it for them. We're like, let me help you with that. You seem to be struggling.
How do you have them have good conversations then?
Well, we're required to use Google Classroom. I don't know, everybody's something different, but that you can reply to each other on that. I also found a cool thing today. Someone told me it's a Google extension, some of you may know, called Moat, where I can actually record my voice replying back to them instead of just typing them things.
Oh, nice.
You can hear tone. It's nice. I don't know. The best advice I can just tell you all is that don't freak out the first week. So.
Part of my instruction the first week is going to be etiquette. Like, how are we going to do this? So that students can understand that unless it's their turn to speak, then they need to have their mic off. And
that's going to be
we'll go over those things, what our procedures are going to be, so that you're not constantly stopping to go over the procedures the whole time. It's just like, it's like when you get 9th graders. And it's like, they walk in the room like they've never been to school before. They're like, what are we doing here? We got to do work? We got to get a pencil? What? We need paper? Miss, you crazy. Miss, you tripping. That's what they tell me all the time. Miss, you tripping.
What about the theory that I'm reading online about people, because we just finished our week of meetings, right? Regular years, you meet 7 hours a day for a week.
Forever.
And this year we met for 3 hours one day, 2 hours one day, and 1 hour another day.
Oh, that's lovely.
Are you actually having in-person meetings, or are you doing it online?
We're doing Zoom. But we are all, we're doing all virtual. I'm in San Francisco. We're going to do public schools. We're doing all virtual. And then all the kids have devices, all TK through high school has devices. Yeah, have devices. And then all of our training this week, we had webinars on the first day on Tuesday. Excuse me, Monday was a digital day, which was a voluntary thing, and you couldn't go to enough of those things. And they were all recorded, thank goodness. But so I learned all about Google Classroom. Then it turns out I teach transitional kindergarten. And now they're all going to be using Seesaw. So now I've got to relearn a different platform, which is, whatever. And then I'll figure that out. We start teaching the 24th of August. So we have another week to figure stuff out. But I keep reading online, all these Facebook teacher groups that I'm sure you guys are all in.
Right.
They're all talking about how you pre-record your lesson. You put it up for the students to see.
Right.
So it's there and they can access it because of course people can't always get online when you're teaching because of maybe, they're grocery shopping with their family or
whatever.
Yeah, whatever the situation. And then apparently when you go online to do live, because I didn't do live in the spring, I just did a bunch of, lesson plans and put pictures up. And then when you do it live, you just either review what they did and they've done it on their own if they watched it, or you redo it again. And then, how does that work if you record it? That's what everybody said, to record your lesson if you're teaching virtually, so that when the kids are together, you're not trying to demonstrate and supervise the kids.
Yeah, that's kind of like a flipped classroom where it makes the kids responsible for learning the content. And then when you're actually meeting with them, it's work time. So you can review, you can help.
Does that work?
I don't know. A colleague of ours is doing that too, and that's what we're thinking of doing. I don't know.
My colleague said a lot of his classes in college that were virtual were like that.
But that's college. I'm talking about 4 and 5-year-olds doing the lesson. The parents, right, helping them.
Depends. I guess it depends on what your project is. But I don't know. It's like, what are they going to do during the lifetimes? They're just going to be sitting there looking at you expectantly.
Sharing. Everybody's talking about doing like a stretching exercise and reading a book and sharing and
just talking.
Yeah, I don't know how.
I don't know either. What I plan to do, because my classes are big and I have a lot of English language learners, and then some of my classes have multiple levels in each class. I teach high school. But what I'm going to do is on the time that I'm required to be live, because but I don't know how many minutes that is yet. I'm going to divide that time into 3 or 4 and then divide the students into 3 or 4 groups. And they'll have things that they can be doing while I'm not talking to them individually or in their small groups. So I'll be working with 5 kids at a time. While I'm working just with those 5 kids in a live meeting, the other ones are doing the other stuff.
That's great.
And then it'll just switch so that everybody gets some individual time, because I know that there's a lot of kids that are really shy, and teachers too, that are self-conscious about being on a camera or talking, with a microphone or whatever. They're not comfortable.
We're told that the kids are not required to turn their cameras, that it's not required that they show their face.
Right.
Yeah.
Ours are not required to show their face either.
Yeah, Nicole and I were just talking about that today. We were wondering what the requirement is going to be.
Well, I think it's not equitable to make people show their face or their environment. I mean, that could just really hinder their learning if they're like worrying about everything else, like their, brother or dad or whatever doing something in the background or making a bunch of racket or whatever. It's like,
how do you know that they're engaged?
Right. How do you know?
How do you know that they're not plugged in?
I guess that's just something you have to balance. I mean,
a video game on their phone.
Right.
Well, if they're not answering you when you're working in a small group, then you could probably guess that they're not engaged. And that would probably, at the high school level, be reflected in their grade. But, and if it were a younger student, that would be a cause for me to say something to their parent, call parents, write parents, whatever, contact parents.
I think that would make me, you know, going over the procedures for remote learning, it would have to be, you know, you have to participate in the group chat so that I know, or answer questions, or there has to be some kind of like exit ticket or something so that you know they were engaged and they were listening and they understood what you were asking, or some way.
And that's the thing with the 4 things. The individual one is where you're going to be talking about what your project is and how you're doing on that. And the other things that you're doing when you're not in a small group with the teacher are about the project or helping with the project. So you'll, and one of those will be, you have to be able to answer questions about this stuff. But I'm thinking, since we also have to take attendance, maybe the face-to-face with the teacher in the small group, whether your video is on or not, if you're participating in that, that's your attendance. I don't know yet. And I don't know what's going to be required of us either. So I may be just making up stuff.
Right.
What if you do this is just an idea, and I don't teach high school. What if you do vocabulary at the beginning of the lesson? Just an idea. Or do something where they have to be active at the beginning of the lesson. They've got to pay attention that there was something to learn. And then at the end of the lesson, you ask them to write you a sentence in the group chat or however the communication is.
Some sort of quiz or fill out a Google Doc or
yeah,
something.
and then that's how you know that they attended. And then they would have had to, I could imagine their text.
That's the thing, even if they don't, the way that I have it set up in my head, and I'm working on my Bitmoji classroom, because I want to be trendy. There's 4 stations, and each one of them, like one will have vocabulary, one will be a video about how to do something, and another one will be something else, like, you know, lots of questions about whatever, like, or a Kahoot. And so even if they skip the part where I'm talking to them individually about their project, they've still gotten a lot of the content, but they're missing out on the individual instruction. Like maybe they had a question about how to do the project. If they don't come to that part, they're not going to get questions answered. So they may be able to pass, but that's about it.
I was wondering, couldn't they change their backgrounds to something, anything that they want, so you don't have to see?
It depends on the platform you're using. If you're using Zoom, then yes, you can change your.
They can.
But if you're using Google Meet, I don't think that's available yet. I mean, they keep adding features to it, so it may be coming soon. But
okay. Yeah,
so
we're using Zoom. That's why I know some kids had changed their backgrounds.
Right, and I've
I
noticed
didn't
a lot of
realize.
teachers have suggested that the kids do that, you know, so that they feel more comfortable in private. I mean, I'm not in a desert, really. I'm like in my dining room.
Is there anyone here that's doing virtual but is required to go into school, into an empty classroom? We are.
We haven't even made a decision yet, and we don't start until September 8th.
With our hybrid schedule in Ohio, we will be going into the classroom, I believe it's Wednesdays, to do virtual.
Yeah. We can't figure out, I mean, we know why, but we're kind of requiring us to go into the classroom when there's going to be no kids in there.
Our high school is having to do that as well. They have 2 office days every week, but they can actually meet in small, like kids can come in and meet in small groups with them, because the art teacher that's teaching AP art, she met today with me and then met with a group of students to talk about what they were going to focus on.
Okay.
So as long as it is small group with, you know, under a certain number.
Yeah.
I mean, I have tutoring tomorrow with kids that are they're only virtual, but they're coming in to see me tomorrow.
So how do you guys that are in person stay 6 feet apart from your students. And
Wait,
with,
what? Can you repeat the question?
how do you guys who are in person stay 6 feet away from your kids while you're teaching and doing the person, whatever, you know, anything? How do you stay 6 feet away from them?
And do you have to wear masks?
Yeah, I mean,
It's
they're
the law, and I mean, it's been mandated for our whole state. You can't be in a public place without a mask.
Yeah, we have to wear masks
What
too.
state are you in?
Texas,
Oh, okay.
it's
Same
on
thing in
fire
Ohio.
here, man. The virus is like out of control. We have like people who think the virus is a hoax.
Yeah, no.
All the crazies are here. Like we have
Florida.
Oh yeah, okay. You know. I always got my Florida and Arizona friends. You know what it's like.
So how do you do that, you guys? Anybody?
I have no idea. I mean, I've always just, when I'm working with a student, I carry around my stool and I sit right next to them. So we're both looking at their artwork from the same perspective. I'm like up in their faces all the time.
Right.
So I don't know. It's going to be weird.
Yeah.
Somebody posted earlier today or yesterday about that very issue. I can't remember whether it was Art Teacher Resources, which Facebook page, but some people made some suggestions, such as using sticky notes or having a place on a counter where if the student wanted feedback, they should take their artwork there. You could fill out the sticky note after, and they can go back to their seat, and then you could fill out your sticky note with your suggestions or feedback, or clipping something to a clipboard in certain stations in the room, or an easel. Yeah, those
are good ideas.
Yeah, that was really good ideas, but it was certainly one of those things like, oh, everybody's thinking this very same thing.
Yeah, everybody's worried about the same stuff.
And
I'll go back tomorrow for PD.
You have to desanitize in between each class. So like between my 5th and 6th graders only have 10 minutes. And I have to spray and wipe down every single table.
And do they start coming in before you're ready?
Yeah, well, they're pretty good.
Because you don't really want them all grouped up at the door either. I've been worried about this situation.
Yeah, they have markers of tape on our floor every 6 feet in the hallways, and the teachers let them out one class at a time. So your students sort of trickle in.
Okay.
And the way I have my tables, I don't have any more than 13, I think, is all that will fit in my class 6 feet apart.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have to release, everything you've ever done, you have to rethink. I was in the middle of teaching the first day and someone asked if they could sharpen their pencil. And usually I would just say, right there's the pencil sharpener. But I had to have this whole talk about how you sharpen your pencil, but you can't touch the pencil sharpener.
So you really just have to put pencil sharpeners on everybody's table.
Yeah.
But then you'd have to clean them after class, right?
Yeah. You just.
That's gonna stress me out. I'm already stressed out. So what are y'all doing about supplies? So because we think our kids are going to be at home and at school and at home and at school. And so we're gonna make them keep their supplies with them all the time.
But here at my school in North Carolina, I'm on a cart. I get to go to each class, and the students are to have their own supplies. They can't share, they can't use mine.
Right, that's what we're doing with ours, but our kids cannot buy supplies because they can't buy things. They don't have any money. Nobody has money. So we're getting supplies for them, but I don't really know how we're gonna distribute them. I know if we have half of the kids on campus, then I'll be able to give it to those kids, but I don't know what to do about the other kids.
Do you guys have food distribution?
Yeah, so maybe like with the food distribution?
Yeah, that's what we're doing is with food distribution, but we're only giving supplies to the disadvantaged kids. And
our entire school our entire district has free breakfast, lunch, and dinner for every student.
Yeah. And I think it's really,
That's everybody.
I think it's really lovely that everybody's giving supplies, but personally, I don't think kids, I mean, they go home and I'm sure people have siblings or some parent is going to go, oh, let me borrow your marker from your whatever. And
Right.
I'm designing all my lessons as if they don't have any supplies.
Yeah, that's good.
Because
I had students who didn't even have a pencil or pen. So
yeah, I know. Yeah, that's
so it's
what,
like I mean, that would be every assignment would be a photography assignment.
well, or you do that laundry art, or you do a mandala with rocks and sticks and you spell your name.
I can't even ask kids to do laundry art. We have students who have one outfit.
Oh.
And they wear it every single day. Every day. I mean, it's like I can't ask them to use things that I think everybody owns because everybody doesn't own.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
we have issues with homelessness, so you can't
We
assume that
do.
a kid
We have
gets
that as well.
crap, you know?
A lot of our students are refugees, and so they have arrived here into this country with themselves, but only barely that even.
Where do you teach?
I'm in Texas, but I'm in Dallas.
God,
I'm at the most diverse high school in Texas.
wow, that's so fantastic. You're so
The
lucky.
students are fantastic. They're
Yeah,
amazing.
Yeah.
They're such great kids that nobody has anything.
Well,
And so
do
it's
you
like,
guys-
huh?
I have a question. Do you guys have freecycle.org in your community?
In Dallas, it's kind of problematic because the city is so large.
Oh.
That they've tried to, we have different things for different neighborhoods, but then there's people who, you know, get on the wrong one that's not for their neighborhood. Because I came from another town that was smaller and the free cycle community was fantastic. But I have a lot of friends who are retired art teachers, and let me tell you, they've been the biggest help.
Yeah.
In getting supplies. They're like, oh, I have posters, and they bring me everything they've saved from when they were teaching art.
Yeah, because a bunch of teachers in our district has a teacher site.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. We've
And
talked about doing like a Facebook page just for all the DISD art teachers, because some teachers have a loom that they're not using. Some teachers have, you know, printmaking stuff that they don't use because that's not their thing.
But our teachers are using that. Well, they're using them for a lot of things, but one of the reasons is they took a poll from all the teachers, every grade, and they asked people to send in suggestions of what they need. And then they're going to go to community businesses
and ask
people to donate supplies and then get it to the kids. It's unbelievable how powerful.
We've gotten my colleague and I have gotten a grant to get supplies. I just don't know how to give them to the kids.
You do your
but you solved it with the food distribution, so that's all.
Did everybody do do you guys have donors choose in your community?
Yes. We each did a donors choose. We made our list, we put them together. He and I did each separate ones, and he was a new donors choose teacher, so everything that was donated was doubled for his, and of course I had the Gates Foundation match. So we got supplies for these guys and sturdy zipper pouches to put them in.
Oh yeah.
So
told today that Dick Blick has a donation department where you write in and ask them to donate.
I love Blick. It's my favorite.
Yes, I love Blick too. So I didn't know they had that, and I filled out the form, and who knows?
Fantastic. We've done really well at getting people to donate stuff for our kids because they're like, I'm always like, oh, my students. And I tell stories all the time, so all my friends feel like they know my students.
I also did a school shopping list on Amazon, and I posted that all over Facebook as well.
We're not allowed to do that.
Really?
No, I did that my first year that I was there because I started mid-year, and so I missed out on ordering supplies.
You know, our art department is working with Office Depot, and just to get a few packages of kits together, and Office Depot is giving us half off.
Oh my, that's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
So generous.
If you get a chance, check out a group called Fresh Artists.
Uh-huh.
And I'm not sure what, I think it's freshartist.com. It might not be, but they, according to your like free and reduced lunch population,
Mm-hmm.
they'll give like an art kit. And I have gotten, let's see, it was 20 jelly plates along with 20 rollers and some paint.
Whoa.
For nothing but shipping. I paid the shipping.
That's
And that was it.
amazing.
So
Yeah, I'll look that up.
check them out. I don't know if they have anything available or not. It's periodic,
Yeah,
but it's
I'll
worth a
give it-
shot.
It's worth a shot for sure. I'll look.
What was the,
I'll
what was
look.
the name?
Thank you. We're always scrambling. I came from a different district before that had, and that I could order kits already, and the parents would send $25 and to get a kit for their kids. And so there would be like 2 or 3 that, you know, were funded from my budget, but most of them the kids paid for themselves. So this is a little different, slightly different. But they're great kids for sure. And they're so nice. Their parents are so nice. They're terrified to come to the school.
So there's mud painting, you know, don't forget about mud painting, you guys.
Ooh, mud.
With the kids, you just get
Yeah.
mud, and they can do it with a stick that you just scratch on a sidewalk.
Mm-hmm.
I was asked to design or to do more of a graphic design curriculum
Uh-huh.
the kids can do on their devices.
Yes.
So I've been trying to come up with ideas for that.
We did a few things last time. Mostly my entire time was chasing down kids and helping them get their hotspots and
Yep.
finding how to work. Because the thing is like we have parents who don't speak English, don't know how to drive or use a phone or internet. They're not literate in any language. And so they can't help their kids. I mean, they want to help them. They're so excited that their kids are going to school finally, and, you know, but they don't know how to help their kids at all. I mean, so if their kid runs into some tech issue, they've got nobody.
Wow. How are you guys all doing?
I only have 2 triangles left.
This is what I've done so far.
That's very pretty.
Totally by hand, so you can see.
I'm like holding mine up and I'm like, I can't see
Wow.
it. Disappears into the Sonoran Desert.
It's easy though, right? You guys just.
Yeah, it's easy. I mean, we've been chatting the entire time.
Yeah, it's relaxing.
Yep.
It's like la la la. You don't have to pay that close of attention. Oops. This is how we do our color wheels for Art 1. Anyway, they just design something, and then
That's a good idea.
they have to have, you know, the same numbers as on a color wheel, number of colors, and then they paint them with their watercolor.
I've done that too.
The kids really like it, and they also like the outlining with Sharpie. They're all about that.
Oh, yeah.
Who doesn't love outlining with Sharpie?
I'm always
The best
short on
part.
Sharpies.
I don't know how I took art in high school without having a Sharpie. And most of my students don't know how to use a ruler. So usually what I photocopy a template that has about 5 or 6 pie shapes on it for them to work out their design. And then I show them how to find the center of their square paper, and then they just go around the middle. It works out all right. If their scissor skills are poor, then, you know, sometimes the triangle doesn't fit. We have unusual obstacles. How to work scissors. How does this ruler work?
What refugees, what countries do they come from?
We have a lot from Myanmar, different countries in Africa, a lot of Ethiopians, Malaysia.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Different places in South America. Just everywhere.
When I was a camp counselor, a camp director, whatever I did in New York, one of the things we did was, because I love traveling and I was a Peace Corps volunteer and all this business. And, I had a map on the wall, and then I put every country I cut out the name of every country, put it in an envelope, and then every camper had an opportunity to put their hand in the envelope and pull out the name of a country. And then they had to go to the world map and find the country.
Oh,
and
that's fun.
And we greeted each other in that language. Because it's, you know, if we knew it.
Right.
And if we didn't, somebody pulled out Tonga, and, you know, then I had a kid saying, who wants to, and I got all excited. I said, who wants to research Tonga in the middle of the summer? The kids were thrilled. They came back and they told us all about Tonga. Anyway,
that's so fun.
Then I had them take then they had to find New York, because that's where I lived at the time. And then I had all these forms of transportation at the bottom of the map, all these like the counselors had prepared all these different skateboards and boats and planes and bicycles and cars, everything. And then the kid had to get from New York to that country. And so if they wanted to ride a bike, I'm like, okay, it'll fall in the water. What do you need? And they like, okay, I'll put it on a boat. And it was really fun to have them.
That is fun.
Just to learn more about the world, you know, and yeah, that was time.
One year I had a big dry erase list of languages spoken just in my class, and that was fun. And I have made flashcards, and I study every year of just saying good morning or whatever in somebody's language. And our principal is Ethiopian. So.
Oh, wow.
Got it all going on over there. It's great.
That's so fabulous.
Nice. A funny thing, though, is that we had some people come in and decided that they wanted to set up, this sounds good in theory, set up like a marketplace where people could sell crafts or the kind of crafts that they make in the countries that they're from. So this sounds cool, right? However, the majority of the students that we have or the families that we have there have been in refugee camps for generations. They don't know how to do anything. They don't know how to do any of the crafts from their culture because they've never done them.
It's such a shame.
It is, but they've lost everything. That's why they don't know how to that's why they're not literate in the language that they speak, because they're just existing. They're not making things. They're not writing things. They're not learning new things. They're just living. That's it, just barely. I mean, I can see why they're so desperate to get out of there also, because it's terrible. But anyway, so we had somebody do that, and they were so shocked. I mean, they were so, the people that took it on were so unaware of what it was like for refugees when they're in a refugee camp, because they have no idea. And I was like, apparently you have forgotten about our own history and what happened to people that we put into camps. So, but whatever. It was an interesting experiment. Maybe it was an eye-opener for them as well. Along, down to my last triangle.
So Steph, when we finish the Sharpie part, we erase the lines that cross through the circle, right?
Yep, erase all of your pencil, and then you have a nice clean outline to color in any way you want.
feel like my students trying to make that final triangle fit. Final pie, it's always wonky. Okay.
I made a dyslexic mandala.
What happened?
Sometimes I didn't flip over my pattern.
The kids do that too. It's okay.
Yeah, my students do that all the time. It certainly does draw your eye to it though, and gives you something to look at. You're trying to figure out like, wait, it was a pattern here, now it's not. Really looking at it, trying to figure it out.
How many of you guys use the tracing paper method? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, you are? Okay, good. Okay.
Both sides, over and over and over.
What I did, Steph, I did this. I put my, here you go. I put my cell phone with the flashlight up in a plastic bowl, okay? And then, I'm an art teacher. I had a piece of plexiglass.
Yeah.
That I put on top of the.
I have a tiny light board and I didn't even use it.
That's
great.
And I couldn't find a compass. I'm an art teacher. So I had a ruler. And I used masking tape and I used plastic container lids to do the different circle shapes.
You are MacGyver.
Seriously.
Well, I wanted to play. I've been working too hard. And so I was like, I'm not going to miss out on this.
I'm going to give Nancy a shout out while we're all here. She's doing the jelly plates next week. Woohoo!
I'm so excited about that.
Yes.
So has anybody, I ordered all this, here you go. This not gelatin.
Oh, I made mine.
Yeah, I
easy.
didn't make mine, but I'm going to. And I ordered this vegetable, whatever the heck it is.
Glycerin.
Yeah, glycerin on Amazon. And so that's my next project. I had to get through this week of
The homemade ones are great. If you mess it up or it just gets to where none of the paint comes off or ink comes off anymore, or you rip it or it gets a nick in it, you can just melt it in the microwave and re-pour it.
Huh.
Great. Yes.
Okay. And I've been taking a lot of jelly plate webinars to do all these different techniques. So
it's so fun.
Yeah.
I love it. I taught my kids how to do it last year and they were just obsessed. They couldn't stop.
Yeah.
They were like,
And I went to Blick and I just bought one the other day. So
yeah.
Too busy.
you fancy with your store-bought one.
Steph, you're in Manhattan, you're in New York.
Card, so I went and I used it.
That's nice. I made a couple at school that are made out of agar instead of gelatin because some of my students can't use gelatin stuff. So they use the ones that are made out of agar. They're not as durable, but if you're in that situation, it can be done.
You used agar because of religious reasons?
Yeah, we have a lot of students who are Muslim and they don't use gelatin.
Yeah. And did you know in Muslim art, there's always some, where I lived in Africa, it was Muslim, and there's something called Allah's mistake. So in anything you buy from a Muslim country, in
It'll have
art,
a purposeful mistake.
yeah, there's always a mistake. It's really fun to find.
Oh, that sounds fun. Is that what you're doing with your own mandala right now?
The Amish do that too.
It's a lot about mistakes here.
Yeah.
I was like, I've got so many.
Steph, who does that? Who else?
The Amish, when they're making their quilts, they also make intentional mistakes because only God is perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so cool.
I'm just gonna give you guys a heads up. It is 8:28.
Oh my.
All right.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So
Where has the time gone?
that's
Crazy.
So much fun.
you get sucked into the zone and you just enjoy.
That's what happened when you find your flow.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, now.
Well, ladies, thank you for making this a good ending to a very, very stressful week.
Oh, you're welcome.
Well, like
Hopefully
we're
it'll be-
saying, you know, who else can start out a week with a earthquake and end with a, you know, thunders or rainstorm and all that good kind of stuff. So,
Oh, gosh. Well, I'm glad you're safe.
and I got tossed out of my classroom this week. I'll be fully on a cart.
Oh,
A
no.
closet for my office because our school building was damaged. So they moved the 8th graders from upstairs. And guess whose room was the first one they took? The art teacher.
Those
Oh.
jerks.
So
Well,
my principal looked at me and says, "Are you good?" And I said, "Well," I said, "I'm not going to go home tonight and cry any more than I had the last 2 nights." I survived an F4 tornado. And this earthquake was so much scarier.
Really?
Oh,
Wow.
yeah. I mean,
It takes the devil out of you. Yeah, in California, we get them all the time. It's really scary.
I don't know how y'all do it. I really don't. I have been so jumpy this week.
Uh-huh. Well, you walk around, and where we live, the weather's usually beautiful, but you just kind of know the weather's really beautiful, but we're waiting for an earthquake. So
Yeah, I mean, the weather was beautiful Sunday. But
yeah,
Always a
Yeah.
trade-off, right? In New York, we get the floods, so.
yeah. But thank you all. I'm going to have to go.
I wish
Appreciate
you
it.
good luck next week.
Have a
Thank
better
you.
week next week.
And my cat is back on top of my work.
Aw.
Thank you, Steph. Thanks, everybody.
Welcome. Have a good week.
Oh, there's Ollie.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Hey, funny face.
hey, there you go. Oh, I did it off center.
Hi.
So cute.
Oh my goodness. I guess I'm done working.
Guess so. The boss is here.
It's like, I need attention.
I hope to see you next week. I have to start school tomorrow with a PD. And
Oh, good
so
luck.
we've got like,
Luck.
thank you. Yeah,
And I will
lots,
send everybody links to the recording and the Google Drive.
All right. Thank you.
Have a
thank
great
you.
weekend.
You
Thanks.
too.
Steph. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, ladies.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Mom.
Don't leave.
Don't. Okay.
No, I can talk for a while.
Well, no, because I'm recording this. So I'm going to click off. And if you want to have a Zoom session, the 2 of us, I'll send you a link.
I'm gonna head out too.
All right. Thank you. Oh, I love it.
Oh, nice. Hold that up again.
That looks great.
Hold it up again.
Here's
I
mine.
am.
I didn't get that far.
It's
It's
okay.
very relaxing. Thank you for the session.
Have a good week. Thanks.
You too.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. All right, Mom. Then you want to keep going, or do you want to
Did you
keep
turn
going?
off? What?
I'm ending.
I didn't get it.
Goodbye.
Oh, you're going?
Bye.
Okay. Bye.